Mary is a woman who converted a school bus into a camper she named Max, which is exactly where her channel, Maximalist Minibus, gets its name. She travels alongside her dog, Ryder, and regularly posts videos sharing personal stories and engaging with her audience. Her content has a genuinely calming quality, capturing quiet little moments from her everyday life with an authenticity that really comes through. But in this particular upload, something unfolded that shook her to her core. She finally got around to doing something she'd been putting off for quite some time, and what came of it completely blindsided her.
Procrastinator. Sometimes it takes me a really long time to get things done. I don't know. It's weird. I feel like I'm a very busy person, but am I? Or do I just spend a lot of time goofing around? Like, for example, I've been a host at this campground since like the end of April. The whole time, almost every day, I say, oh, I got to set up my hammock. Or, oh, I got to make some hummingbird food and set up the hummingbird feeder. But I never do it. I mean, and the hummingbirds here, they can be really aggressive. They come right in my face and they demand that I feed them. And I say, oh, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. And then I never set it up. But every day, people come into the campground. And they're going to be here for like 2 days. And they build a whole world. They put up like 3 or 4 hammocks, 3 or 4 sleeping tents. They put a canopy over the picnic table, lights everywhere. It's like they make a little city on their campsite, and they do it in, it seems like 5 seconds. And they're just going to have to take it down in 2 days, which they do just as fast. I can't even put away my laundry in that amount of time. This camera, for example, I've had this camera for at least a year, maybe more, maybe even 2 years. It's a trail cam with a little solar panel on the top, and it has its own power and everything. And I searched for it because I wanted one that had its own power so I could put it anywhere. Didn't have to worry about whether I have power there. And it has the solar panel, and then it also has inside this little door, it has battery backup. You're supposed to put batteries in it, which I haven't done yet. Surprise, surprise. But anyway, the batteries are like C batteries, or, oh no, actually, you know what? It's 4 AA's. I was at Walmart and I remembered, so I got an SD card, so now tonight I can set this up. Maybe the hammock is next. I'm going to put the camera on this little footstool that I always put in front of my tent when I close it up for the night. It's basically just shooting right next to the bus. Probably not the most exciting place to put the camera. Probably should put it over by the creek, but for the first night, I don't even know if it's set up right, so I'm just going to...
On the surface, setting up a trail camera doesn't feel like much of a decision. I mean, what are the odds that anything noteworthy actually gets caught on the very first night, right? That would be an almost unbelievable coincidence. And honestly, that was her thinking too. She tracked down some batteries, got the camera running, and positioned it near her tent close to where she was sleeping, hoping maybe to spot some local wildlife. Then more or less put it out of her mind. But the following morning, she noticed something that didn't sit right with her, something that felt suspicious, and once it dawned on her that someone had actually been in her camp, she suddenly remembered that camera was rolling. What it had recorded stopped her cold.
I got up and my tent is open. And I mean, I know squirrels are always trying to get in there, but squirrels didn't do this. Squirrels can't operate a zipper. I haven't seen any here with opposable thumbs. And I always zip it shut from the top down to the bottom. But see, there's 2 zippers. And so it's open the other way. One zipper stays at the top after I zip it, and somebody unzipped it from the top down to the bottom. So right now it's like it's open like a flap, right? So it's open, it's zipped at the bottom. And when I first saw it, I thought, well, that's weird. But honestly, I didn't think that much about it because, I don't know, maybe I did it that way. I don't think I did. I never have before. But it wasn't until later in the morning that I thought about the critter cam. And I was like, oh, let's see what animals we got. So I popped it out, put it in, and I didn't capture any animals. I captured a guy. In the first part, it shot at like 8:30, and it just got like some campers walking to the restroom. But then nothing until 2:30. And then at 2:30, you should see these headlights. So it looks like the car's coming from around, like maybe either somebody drove in and they're turning around right now, or I don't know. Or, I don't think it's a camper, but so the headlights come this way, and then it's a pickup truck that goes by. I don't recognize it. It could belong to a camper, could belong to somebody in the cabins up the road, but I know most of those cars. It's not a vehicle I recognize. Let's start with that. But right after it goes by, keep your eye on this over here. Okay, there he is. You see him? He's got glasses on that are shining. He's got on a baseball cap. It looks like he might have a goatee. here he comes. He walks across. See, he's got a trash bag, it looks like. And I thought at first he had a backpack on, but you'll see in a minute it's not a backpack. So he walks by. And then it missed the first part of him, but then he comes back with a flashlight. And he's coming around, like, I have a table over here with a bunch of stuff on it. He's coming around probably checking out what's on that table. I think he's... Okay, now look, here he comes. Now he's shining the flashlight in through the mesh of the tent, trying to see what's inside the tent. And you can see, like, his pants are all kind of frayed and everything. But he leaves again. He walks by, and he's going, like, probably over to the golf cart to see what's in the golf cart, because the golf cart's parked in front of the bus. And then he goes around. I think he must probably go around the bus and come back again, because give it a second. He's going to come back. There he goes. Coming back around for another chance. And this time, he's not going to just look inside the tent. This time, yeah. Give him a second. There he goes. He's coming right to the tent. And look at this. He moves the camera. I mean, he moves the camera. I guess he doesn't know it's a camera, but he moves the steps with the camera so that he can unzip the tent and get inside. And then he's inside the tent for all. You can hear him plunking around, moving things, stuff like that. Moving stuff around. And then the movement stops, so the camera kind of stops recording. There he goes. Now he comes out. He's got that jug of water, which I think he had going in, but he's got a trash bag, and he's wearing it.
She checked everything, including the inside of the tent, and as far as she could tell, nothing had been taken, which only makes the whole thing more unsettling. What exactly was this man after? It's obvious he wasn't there by mistake. Nobody wanders into a stranger's tent without some kind of intent. She was fortunate to have been locked inside the bus, because the footage shows the man making several loops around the campsite and even moving toward the school bus itself, meaning there's a very real possibility he tested that door without her ever knowing. That alone is a chilling thought, because what might have happened if he'd actually gotten in while she was there? Was that the whole point? It's a stark reminder not to put off basic safety measures, and to always keep your doors secured. After she'd spent so much time at that location, it really does make you wonder whether this was genuinely the first incident of its kind, or whether things could have eventually taken a much darker turn. At the very least, she now knows that spot isn't the safe haven it once appeared to be, and that she'll need to either move on or seriously step up her precautions going forward. While exploring Pilot Mountain in North Carolina, an unidentified couple managed to capture something truly bizarre on film.
Is it really? Oh, there's more than one of them, huh?
They were completely certain nobody else was in the area at the time, yet when they went back through the footage afterward, a ghostly figure suddenly materialized and vanished just as quickly. A number of viewers noted that it bore a striking resemblance to someone in a Confederate soldier's uniform, which isn't too surprising given that the region has a well-documented history of Civil War-era apparition sightings. The hikers came to realize they had stumbled onto something extraordinary, and the footage has since taken on a life of its own online. Now, if you found yourself out on the trails in the Lone Pine Mountains, would you even think to snap a quick photo? Well, one woman did exactly that, and later, sitting at home scrolling through her pictures, she spotted something deeply unsettling lurking in the background. Far behind her stood a strange, indistinct figure. It appeared humanoid in shape, but the distance and distortion made it impossible to determine whether it was a person, an animal, or something else altogether. Nothing about it matched any hiker or local wildlife she could think of, and whatever it was, it had absolutely no business being out there. Those photos still, Ethan runs the YouTube channel JLark Outdoors, where he documents wild camping trips, visits to abandoned places, and outdoor adventures. He expected this particular outing to be another peaceful overnight stay, but what unfolded at Easby Abbey turned into something far more tense than he had bargained for. On November 6, 2025, Nathan set out on a stealth camping trip in Richmond, North Yorkshire. With Halloween having just passed, he leaned into the spooky atmosphere by choosing to bivy camp in the dark near Easby Abbey, just a short walk from Richmond. The moment he arrived, though, he realized how tricky filming was going to be.
One of the hardest places to film, because everywhere you want to be, especially a place just over here in the cover, there's an archway out of it, and there's a house with all the lights on right opposite. So I'm going to try and find somewhere, bring you back in, and tell you.
Residential homes sat right up against the ruins, their glowing windows covering nearly every accessible angle. Any light from his cameras or head torch risked drawing unwanted attention, so he had to scout out a discreet position before he could even begin addressing the camera. He cracked open a beer and took stock of his options. Even the glow leaking upward from his kit was enough to give him away.
Middle of a massive abbey. And I'm not scared, I'm just a bit more annoyed that I didn't really understand how difficult it will be. The only bit of cover I've got, like I said, absolutely the only bit of cover I've got is staring right at a house. And of course I'll have to light it up to speak to you guys so you know what's going on.
While he was filming, Nathan spotted what appeared to be a light moving across one of the walls, and he figured it was either a torch or a car pulling up nearby.
Seen light, so I've seen a light on that wall over there. So, like car lights or something, or even a torch. I think someone's on the wonder already. So, I'm not sure this is possible tonight. Now I don't know what's that direction behind me, so I'm gonna have a look.
He couldn't think of many reasons someone would be out there at that hour beyond curiosity or a security patrol. Keeping his voice low, he weighed up whether to move. He picked his way carefully through the ruins, since the steps and stonework were slick and uneven. Every potential shelter came with its own problem. Several sections were completely open to the sky. The only enclosed dungeon-style room had been sealed off, and he'd already spotted rats in there on a previous visit. One other area backed directly onto a private garden, so that was out too. A little later, Nathan fired up the Ghost Tube app.
It said cross. And here I am, in a place of worship. Not very interesting at all. So let's see if this thing can actually talk to me and answer me, or whatever's here can answer me. Sacrifice. Well, this place would definitely not have had sacrifices. There would have been some awful times, I'm sure, where the religious folk here were persecuted. Probably around about the time when Henry VIII was in power.
It began throwing out words like dark, hell, dolls, sacrifice, and how, along with the phrase up here appearing again and again. A name also kept surfacing, Roy, and the app repeatedly prompted him to look inside. Nathan noted that nothing in the Abbey's actual history pointed to any kind of ritualistic activity, and he doubted anyone called Roy had ever been linked to the site. Even so, the relentless repetition made the whole session feel genuinely unsettling. Before settling in for the night, he ran through the ghost legends tied to Easby Abbey.
Ghosts of Easby Abbey are primarily linked to the legend of a hidden tunnel connected to the Abbey to Richmond Castle. Now that, bear in mind, is about a mile away, alright? The most famous ghost story is that of a drummer boy from the 18th century who disappeared into the tunnel and whose drumming can still be heard.
One of the most well-known involved a hidden tunnel said to connect the Abbey to Richmond Castle, which an 18th century drummer boy had entered. What happened next was the part that stuck with people.
According to local legends, an 18th century drummer boy was sent into the tunnel, discovered at Richmond Castle. I'm reading the same stuff again, these are just quotes below it, to see if it connected to Easby Abbey. He was sent to provide a sound signal from the soldiers above ground. The drumming stopped.
The drumming fell silent without warning, and the boy was never seen again. A stone in Richmond is said to mark the exact spot underground where the sound stopped. Some versions of the story even bring in the mythical sleeping nights of King Arthur.
If there's any truth in this at all. However, it's interesting that there was enough corroborative information to actually have a stone put there in the first place. We'll see. Now the tunnel connection. The legend suggests a secret tunnel runs from Richmond Castle to here in Easby Abbey. The disappearance of the drummer boy is often attributed to either a tunnel collapse or the possibility that he was claimed by the mythical sleeping knights of King Arthur, who was said.
Locals have long claimed that on still Christmas nights, the faint beat of a drum can still be heard beneath Richmond Marketplace. Then, somewhere around midnight, something out of the darkness stopped him cold.
The car has rocked up. It's now towards midnight. There's no reason or rhyme or reason why anyone would come here. There's nothing here. So it's the only shit that scares me is this, because you don't know what you're doing. I've got a lot of gear here, a lot of expensive stuff. So someone has rocked up. So
He heard what sounded like doors being shut and immediately began breaking down his camp, gathering cameras, food scraps, and any rubbish. He knew young people sometimes came to the ruins after dark, and with his gear at risk, he made the call to get out. Shortly after, more vehicles showed up, and that settled it.
Houses are over there, right over that way, and then one right down there, and then that one right opposite, but way over that way. The cars are stopping here, so they're stopping there, and they can probably hear me. But I was just on the phone to the missus to let her know I was alright, and then...
Lights from torches and increased activity confirmed this. He spoke briefly with a small group, who greeted him politely. After the interaction, he exited the ruins. He accepted that he could not safely film or sleep in the exposed, busy environment.
It's just too open. I can't exactly stick a tent in there, because that would just be a dickish move. So, and there's no roof anywhere, so what can you do, man? What can you do?
And that settled it. He shouldered the last of his kit and set off on the mile-long walk back, navigating carefully along the path above the river with his torch cutting through the dark below. The night hadn't gone the way he'd planned, but he made it home without incident, and the adventure was done. Number 2, Sergel, who runs a YouTube channel called Travel Stories, typically documents peaceful solo survival experiences out in the wilderness. But on one particular solo trip to a small log cabin deep in the forest, things took a genuinely dangerous turn.
Сломано крепление. Вот этот кусочек вырван. Фотоловушку эту установил где-то в начале июня, в первой половине июня. Сейчас посмотрю, включу, если... Ну, в любом случае, вы сейчас кадры увидите, какие там есть. Новые. Подумаем, что-нибудь придумаем.
The area isn't a designated campsite or national park, it's active wildlife territory, so a bear showing up isn't exactly shocking. Still, as he arrived at the cabin with daylight fading fast, he rushed to haul water and get some firewood together, and that's when his first real problem hit.
Ну, блин, опять. А вот тут, видите, вообще ничего. А тут ничего. Ребята, я плохо проверил все трубы. Смотрите. Видите? Осиное гнездо внутри трубы. Прям внутри трубы сделали осиное гнездо.
The wood stove wasn't drafting properly, and smoke began filling the interior, making it nearly impossible to breathe. After a while, he worked through it, got things under control, and eventually night settled in. He turned in for the night, and the next morning started off quietly enough. But that peace was short-lived. What makes this whole situation so unsettling isn't anything supernatural, the way these kinds of adventures sometimes are, but the fact that a routine inconvenience snowballed into a genuine life-threatening situation in a place completely cut off from the rest of the world. All I can say is, I'm glad Sergel got out of the Siberian wilderness when he did. Camping solo sounds like pure serenity, right up until something you can't see starts closing in on you. That's the situation Bear found himself in. The face behind the channel Exploring with Bear, he's built a following by heading into the wilderness on his own and documenting both the breathtaking and the deeply unsettling side of nature. His outings tend to carry a quiet, meditative energy, but on this particular night, something happened that he never could have seen coming. On February 7th, 2024, Bear headed out for a solo trip deep into the forest, just him, his equipment, and the vast stillness of the trees surrounding him. He was counting on a relaxed night beneath the open sky, but what started as a simple getaway was about to unravel into something truly horrifying.
So, this is what we're going to be working with tonight. That's it. Bare bones, baby. Bare bones. I do have that reflector under there. So in part one, we got our campsite all together. We got our fire going. We got our tent pitched. It is becoming much cooler now. Now, right now, it's currently about 40 degrees out. You know, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I think it's going to be like 26, 27 or something like that. Much better than the 9 degrees it was the last time we was camping with a real feel of -10.
Once his camp was set up and the fire was crackling, Bear ducked into his tent and settled in for what he hoped would be a quiet, uneventful evening. For a stretch of time, everything felt completely normal, almost serene. But that sense of peace was borrowed time. Before long, something strange began cutting through the stillness.
Maybe, now that we got these fired up, we check out the offering tree, maybe the lake. So, stopped.
The silence of the night was suddenly broken by an unnerving sound. Bear tried to rationalize it, maybe a snapping twig or a nearby animal passing through, but the moment he stepped outside, a heavy feeling of being observed washed over him, and whatever was out there seemed to be drawing closer.
That's more better. That's more better. Something seemed off. What the heck was that? That sucker came flying in. That just fall from up there? That's what I was telling you guys about the Widowmakers when you're pitching your tent. Like that was, I don't know what that was, but imagine if that was a monster.
Without warning, a branch cracked loudly, as though something had launched it deliberately. He shook it off, kept walking, and eventually made his way back to camp. But the atmosphere had shifted entirely. The night no longer felt safe.
It's a little later now. Almost fell asleep, actually. I was watching a video and caught myself falling asleep. So I did end up breaking out the old camping blanket because it is much colder out. So I did end up putting one of the hand warmers in my pocket, and I have one tucked right up in here. Oh, you can see it. Yeah, right there. Sorry, guys. I think I'm going to try to get a little bit of sleep. And if I wake back up, I'll check back in. If I don't wake back up.
Fatigue eventually won out, and he drifted off, hoping the remaining hours of darkness would bring nothing more than rest. But deep in the night, something jolted him wide awake.
I just heard I don't know if I was even all the way asleep or what, but there was a huge crash outside. is standing right outside of the tent. It walked right up to the tent. Do you hear it? There it is again. What the heck is that? Oh. It's throwing stuff at the tent. I'm armed. No. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have a freaking heart attack. Man, whatever that is, I don't know what. I almost feel like it could be people messing with me. I just heard it breathing. Oh!
Bear was snapped out of his sleep by the unmistakable sensation of a presence circling just outside his tent. Objects were being thrown against the fabric with what felt like intention. His pulse hammered, a cold dread spreading through him as he killed his flashlight, desperate for it to stop. But rather than dying down, the sounds intensified, building into a relentless rhythmic terror that made one thing horrifyingly clear.
I can hear it. No, please no. Please no. Please no. Please no. Please leave. Please leave. Please leave. I think it's leaving.
He was not out there alone. Mixed in with the sound of footsteps came something even more disturbing. Laughter drifting through the trees. Whatever this was, it seemed to be enjoying itself. Bear stayed completely still, understanding that any sudden move could turn a terrifying situation into a fatal one.
Minutes and I haven't heard anything. But my heart's still about to beat out of my chest, and I'm gonna take this opportunity and leave right now before whatever that was. Sounded like there was two of them. There's people, creatures, whatever that was. I am leaving before they come back. I do not feel safe. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not. Yeah, right now I hear nothing.
When the sounds finally seemed to go quiet, he seized his window and fled, abandoning all of his gear behind him. The following 7 days were consumed by dread and a gnawing sense of unease. When he finally worked up the courage to go back, what he discovered was even more chilling than what he'd already been through.
Destroyed the frickin' tent. I wonder if they thought I was laying in there when they threw that block on it.
His campsite had been completely destroyed. A cinder block had been thrown directly into his tent, making it undeniable that whoever had been out there wasn't simply trying to frighten him. They had wanted to cause real harm. Bear made it out without a scratch. But one thing was certain, whoever he crossed paths with that night had absolutely no good intentions. Our first video of the night comes from a channel called Welcome to the Woods UK, a YouTube channel dedicated to outdoor content with a heavy focus on wild camping, hiking, and venturing through Britain's natural landscapes. The channel regularly features solo camping trips where the host pushes deep into remote wilderness, spending time in nature, putting gear through its paces, and occasionally looking into strange or unsettling happenings out in the forest. It's March 9th, 2024, and in this particular video, the host finds himself camping alone in the woods after dark. Though this isn't your typical overnight stay, he's done something a little different this time around. A decoy campsite has been set up several hundred yards from his actual location, with the idea being to draw any suspicious figures or potential trespassers away from where he's really positioned. Armed with drone technology and night vision equipment, he's keeping a close eye on the surrounding area for anything out of the ordinary. Things start to get genuinely unsettling when, deep in the middle of the night, disturbing sounds begin carrying through the trees. The noises bear a striking resemblance to a woman screaming somewhere off in the distance. And no matter how hard he tries to keep it together, the dread of whatever might be out there slowly starts to creep in. The oppressive quiet of the forest broken only by those strange cries and the persistent sensation of being observed, keeps him on edge from dusk till dawn. By morning, the host is rattled, but far from done. He's determined to head back out there with better equipment and get to the bottom of whatever or whoever.
I've had some sort of intruder in this wood. I'm on the south side of the property today at the furthest point. I've been through the woodland checking on my trail cams. Last week I did have one trail cam go missing. Can't find hiding a hair of it. Not even the strap was left on the tree. So that's just come up missing. It's almost as if someone's unstrapped it and took it with them, like, 'cause obviously they've been caught out or something. All of the other trail cams though are still in situ. So stick around. I've got a great deal planned for this video, so I have actually got a couple of experimental things that I want to try. I do want to try and set up that sort of dummy camp a couple of 100 yards away from me whilst I'm set up in a stealthy camp, and I have my night vision binoculars trained onto where the camp is. Just put a little cob light or something inside and see if anyone does pass by, because that last camp that I did have was pretty chilling.
Is haunting those woods. Convinced that someone has been trespassing on his land, he decides he's going to do something about it and walks us through exactly how he plans to catch whoever it is red-handed.
I have been using my drone for aerial surveillance on this. Might sound funny, but it can actually cover a big area and it can see a lot wider vision than what I can be in the woods on the floor. So I've been using that. 2.5 weeks in, I did catch something that did catch my attention.
He then pulls up some drone footage he captured that appears to confirm his suspicions. There is definitely someone moving around out in those woods.
The big cabin, some 4 miles away from the other bit of woodland that you have been seeing. It's quite nice to get away from that bit of woodland, to be honest with you. The last few weeks just staring at trail cam footage, drone footage, and the bits of footage that I did get at night time of whatever it is or whoever it is that is creeping about at night in there. So the drone footage was concerning in the fact that there shouldn't have been anyone else in the woodland. You can quite clearly see some sort of figure of a person walking from one side of the clearing to the other. I don't seem to have any recognition that the drone's there. Although the drone was going quite fast, I obviously slowed it down just so you could see the detail. I'm going to spend the last weekend here before the spring comes. I want to take the stovepipe and the log burner out and give it a good clean once I'm finished in here this week. So yeah, I'm all set up now. I didn't want to give it away where I was camping, so I didn't film too much, but I'll spin you around and show you what I've done. Don't know if you can see it, but just against that tree that's out there in the opening, that is the decoy camp. I'll show you exactly where we are with an arrow. As you can see, once you're shut inside, it is quite cosy. This is just a test on the decoy, which is a good 120 yards off the edge of the woodland. So that tree is 97 yards. Keep getting false readings from the laser on the rangefinder hitting the grass.
He positions a stealth camp roughly 100 yards back from a decoy campsite, hoping to funnel whoever is out there toward the fake setup so he can observe them and figure out what they're actually doing.
So behind this decoy setup here is the east part of our woodland where the new cabin's being built, and we've got plenty of clearing here to see if anyone comes around. I'm going to put a cob light inside and turn it on just as it gets dark, so as it acts as a bit of an attractor. That wind's getting up. In the event that we are successful, I will hit record on the night vision binoculars. I'll also light that area up with a high powered torch that I've got, and I shall shout the odds and hopefully scare this person away to never coming back here ever again. If that was a stick that's fallen out of that tree or something was thrown. I'll have to replay the footage, but I'm not sure whether a branch fell out of the tree or something was thrown at that.
So what's your read on that? Was something deliberately thrown at the tent, or could it have just been a branch dropping from above? Drop your thoughts down in the comments.
I want to keep this light as low as I can. But it sounds like a woman shouting or screaming. Jesus. Jesus. The hell is that? What the hell is that? Switch over to night vision 1 second. Well, I must say I have no rational explanation for what the noises were last night, but that was where it ended. There was no more noises or anything like that, thank God. That's not to say there isn't a reasonable explanation for it. It might be an animal that I just haven't heard before. I can't think of what one. So I'm definitely up for camping in this spot again, but next time I'm going to actually bring a tent with me and a few more sort of creature comforts with me and have a bit more of a good time rather than sitting in.
Sadly, he wasn't able to get a clear look at whatever was sharing those woods with him that night. But that screaming, what on earth was that? I can't think of a single animal that produces a sound like that. So who or what was making those noises out there in the pitch black? He made it out of the night in one piece, thankfully. But the question that lingers is this. Given the screaming and what that drone footage showed, who keeps coming back to his woodland, and what are they after? Could it really just be a casual walker passing through? That seems like a stretch, especially considering it's his private property. So why would someone keep returning? Tell us what you think down in the comments below. Claire is a seasoned solo camper and single mom whose content usually revolves around serene outdoor adventures, gentle hikes through forested trails, and evenings spent sleeping under open skies. Her channel typically carries a soothing, almost meditative atmosphere full of stunning natural scenery. This time around, though, she decided to do something a little different. For Halloween, she chose to set up camp close to an abandoned, crumbling church with a dark reputation, a place tied to whispered stories of alleged satanic rituals, and even a murder that locals haven't forgotten.
So I'm going to be camping at the church with a history of satanic ritual and witchcraft. So yeah, this is Wild Bear coming to you from Clop Hill. Up bones and all sorts from graves. There's been a murder down on A6 known as the A6 murder. That's the road just over there, I believe. So yeah, lots has happened here, and understandably the church has been closed for overnight visitors, and there are cameras and alarms everywhere. So I've been up to have a look at the church, and I'm staying somewhere nearby where I feel like I won't be disturbed. Yeah, I like this little bit of woods. I don't think I'll be disturbed here. I'm going to do a bivvy today, so really stay off. I've not got another shelter range.
Because the church itself was locked down with alarms and security cameras, Claire made camp in a quiet patch of woodland just outside its perimeter. While she waited for darkness to fall, she dug into the area's disturbing local lore. Stories of desecrated graves, unexplained sightings, and rumors that had stubbornly persisted over the years. One particularly unsettling piece of that history was a controversial clip reportedly filmed near the church some years back appearing to show a hooded figure, a video that had only added fuel to the site's haunted reputation. As the night grew darker,
So far, while we're on the subject of weird stuff, there is a controversial video of what is claimed to be a ghost in St Mary's Church, taken in 2016, and it shows a black hooded figure walking past the door of the church. So if you Google Clophill Church monk ghost, I'm sure that will come up. And it's a really creepy video actually, but you know, that could quite easily have been staged. So, but if you guys that like the ghost stuff, have a look at that. So that's quite fun.
Claire wandered the surrounding area and ate her dinner before eventually settling in for the night. She was hoping things would stay quiet, but lying there beneath the stars, an uneasy feeling began to creep over her.
Okay. Oh, I've lost my bed. How have I lost my bed? Okay, that's not even funny. Right, okay. I'm trying not to get disoriented. Where did I come from? There's the moon. So pretty. Good night, wild ones. See you in the morning. See the red eyes over there? I'm just going to assume they were deer eyes. Freaky. Freaky. Hi.
Strange noises drifted out from the trees, and then suddenly she noticed what appeared to be a pair of glowing red eyes staring back at her from the tree line. She attempted to rationalize it, suggesting the reflection might have come from a deer catching the beam of her red headlamp, but there was something in her tone that suggested she wasn't entirely convinced.
Myself, it's just because I had my red light on my head torch, that's why the eyes look red. And if I had the white light on, they would have just been white.
Those eyes stayed perfectly still. No movement, no blinking, just a fixed, unnerving stare that made it feel like something or someone was out there watching her every move. It's entirely possible the explanation really was nothing more than an animal and a trick of the light. But Claire's visible unease, layered on top of that location's genuinely grim backstory, creates something harder to shake off so easily. Even the most experienced outdoor adventurers aren't fully protected from the way places soaked in dark folklore can start to distort your senses. So was it just nerves and shadows conspiring against her? Or did Claire stumble into something that night that she can't quite explain? Drop your thoughts below, tell us what you think was lurking out there, and whether you would have. In November 2024, a YouTuber going by the name L uploaded a deeply unsettling video to his channel, L Adventure, chronicling a solo camping trip gone wrong. The channel is dedicated to paranormal investigations and urban exploration, routinely putting him in dangerous circumstances in pursuit of evidence for the supernatural. But for this particular outing, he chose to do something a little different. He set off down a remote forest trail connecting two villages, a shortcut that locals are known to steer clear of once the sun goes down. For a night spent camping alone, what he couldn't have known was just how much he'd come to regret that choice.
Kaget dan dilaleki pas tikungan lunyu guys, masya Allah. Mosok jam 6:30 guys baru. Tadi itu sudah halu saya. Mungkin karena saya itu tadi itu tersugesti dengan cerita-cerita warga ya yang tadi siang itu saya temui teman-teman. Jadi ceritanya begini guys. Salam sih ya guys, jangan nggak dibully OL Adventure ngomong orang salam sih, oke? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera buat Sobat L dimanapun kalian berada. Semoga hari ini kita semua diberikan kesehatan, keselamatan, dan selalu dilimpahkan rezekinya. Amin ya rabbal alamin. Malam ini kita gas camping lagi guys, karena saya dapat informasi yang A1 ini teman-teman. Informasi baru, informasi yang masih fresh, dan juga Yang memberikan informasi itu orangnya bisa dipertanggungjawabkan seperti.
While Elle walked his audience through the forest's history and narrated his trek, something extraordinary unfolded just beyond his awareness. A white figure glided silently past the back of his tent, its appearance eerily synchronized with the soft, melodic sound of a woman humming nearby. His camera caught every second of it, yet Elle had no idea anything had happened. Rather than sensing anything out of the ordinary, he brushed off the sounds and assumed they were drifting over from the neighboring village, then kept right on talking. But the night still had plenty more in store for him.
Misal kalian lewat sini, terus di tengah jalan itu ono wong melaku, ada orang melintas, wong astagfirullahaladzim, Allah Akbar, kaget aku. Apa guys, godong ya guys? Godong jati kayak guys.
Even with these warning signs mounting around him, Elle made no effort to track down where the disturbances were coming from. He pressed on with his story and eventually settled into sleep. And that's precisely when things took a turn for the terrifying.
Saya itu dari tadi dengar suara seperti orang ngobrol ya teman-teman. Makanya saya tadi langsung bangun, takutnya itu orang. Soalnya barang-barang saya itu di luar semua guys.
The entity made its presence known again, this time through unsettling laughter echoing through the dark. Rattled by the noise, Elle went looking for the source, but came up completely empty. In an attempt to rationalize what he'd heard, he wondered aloud whether someone with a mental illness might be wandering through the woods. What made it all the more disturbing was that, despite clearly registering the sounds, he didn't experience the familiar dread that had gripped him during past paranormal encounters. The figure recorded on camera, paired with that disembodied voice, bears a striking resemblance to local folklore about a female spirit said to haunt this stretch of forest. Could this be the same entity that generations of locals have crossed paths with? Or is there a more grounded explanation behind these bizarre events? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. In June 2025, the person running the channel Sort of Interesting set out to camp alone in an isolated patch of woodland. His content is generally quite laid back, typically showing him taking in tranquil scenery and living off the land. With close to 20 years of experience in the outdoors, it takes a lot to unsettle him. The hike into the forest during this particular video is fairly unremarkable. He begins sweeping his flashlight across the darkened trees, when around that same moment, he picks up the sound of a nearby vehicle, and things take a more unsettling turn as a car rolls to a stop along a quiet country road.
Torch round on full beam, showing like the woods to the camera. Some car somewhere on a road up there stopped, and I swear a torch shone into the trees, obviously from well above my head, but it's just it spooked me a bit. Oh man, my heart is going. I swear the car that I just mentioned pulled up and somebody's got out. I don't know if they're...
At the point he captured this footage, he was completely invisible in the surrounding darkness, which means the only explanation for a stranger getting out of their car in the middle of the night is that they were actively searching for him. He dropped to his knees and held completely still, praying they would move on, but the situation grows far more frightening seconds later when they produce a flashlight and begin scanning the tree line.
I don't know if you can see that they are literally scanning up the 9. They are literally... Can you see this on the ground? They're literally...
Local police had recently launched a crackdown in response to a sharp rise in crime across nearby villages, making it very plausible that these individuals were behind the trouble and were on the lookout for a vulnerable target. Being caught in that sweeping beam of light would have been the worst possible outcome, given that he was entirely alone with no means of defending himself. Luckily, he stayed motionless until the car eventually drove off, then abandoned his campsite altogether and endured a punishing 16-mile walk home through the dead of night. He has never returned to those woods since. A pair of brothers on a camping trip had their outing take a dramatic turn when a massive tree came crashing down across both of their campsites. The falling trunk smashed into a parked car and demolished a camper trailer, leaving both vehicles so severely damaged that neither could be driven off the site. Fortunately, nobody walked away with so much as a scratch. When the tree was examined afterward, it turned out to be completely rotted on the inside, even though it had looked perfectly fine from the outside. Had it come down in the middle of the night, the story could have ended very differently. It's a sobering reminder that compromised trees can give way in an instant, with zero warning even when the weather is completely calm. On January 4th, 2012, a YouTuber going by Alutian Dream found himself uncomfortably close to an entire gorilla family. Desperate not to be seen as a danger, he carefully adjusted his body posture to signal submission. Before long, the dominant male wandered over and settled in directly behind him. There was no safe opportunity to move, and things grew even more nerve-wracking when the mother approached and began making physical contact with him. Through all of it, he remained absolutely still while the enormous silverback examined him with those deep, calculating eyes.
That black shirt of yours and the silverback. Now the little one's climbing up to get a closer look at your hair. He's on his back. Let's watch your glasses. I don't think they're going to be that interested in them. Silverback.
You can tell from the expression on this man's face that he knew exactly how close he'd come to not walking away. But the full weight of what he was up against only really hits you once you understand just how dangerous these creatures are. If any one of those silverbacks had felt even the slightest sense of threat, those hands could have taken his life within moments. A gorilla's physical strength is thought to be roughly 10 times greater than that of an adult man, with a grip powerful enough to shatter bone. Their canine teeth actually exceed a lion's in length, built to tear through dense, fibrous vegetation, though they're every bit as capable of doing catastrophic damage to a human body. Thomas Locke is a content creator on YouTube who documents his time in the great outdoors, solo camps, hiking trails, and the occasional foray into ghost hunting. His channel is typically filled with the kind of serene, natural footage that makes you want to grab a backpack and head outside. But every now and then, things take an unexpected turn. On this particular outing, Tom had planned a quiet solo camp deep in the woodland. What he got instead was something far more unsettling.
Back from a really heavy leg day at the gym. I'm still sweating like mad. It took half an hour longer than I expected it to, so I am leaving for this wild camp half an hour late. The sun sets in 40 minutes. I need to drive 20 minutes and then I need to walk 20 minutes, so the sun will be past sunset by the time I actually find my spot and pitch up. But I'm still gonna do it.
He pulled up to the trailhead with his dog Archie by his side, and the two of them headed into the trees. Early on, nothing seemed out of place. The trail was a little wild and overgrown, but passable, and Archie was doing what dogs do, bounding ahead and sniffing everything in sight. If anything, the overgrowth was reassuring. It suggested the route didn't see much foot traffic, which meant Tom would likely have the whole place to himself. But alongside that reassurance was something harder to name. A nagging unease he couldn't shake. The further in he pushed, the worse it got. Then he noticed it. Total silence, no birdsong, no insects. Not a single sound, just a thick, unnatural stillness hanging over the trees.
Archie? Archie? What's that about? I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get some food going, some smidge spray on, and then I'll see how I feel. Just doesn't feel right. Let's get some food on. Just my mind playing tricks on me. This dog's tail, he keeps looking over there. He keeps looking in that direction. Just birds, mate, just birds. Yeah, fuck it. Nah. Something's fucky. Something's fucky. Pardon my language. The first time I've ever sworn on this channel. Does that prove that something feels genuinely off? We're out here, man. We're gone. The birds have all gone quiet. This even feels completely different here. This feels so different. Here, compared to in there. I don't know what that was, I don't know what I just felt. I know what the comments are going to be. Someone's commented and said, oh, if you're a naturally nervous person, maybe camping isn't right for you. First I go in, and I get this feeling of trespassing, like, not legal trespassing, like spiritual trespassing, you know, where I'm feeling like this is...
He put it in a way that stuck with you, spiritual trespassing, as though he'd wandered somewhere humans simply weren't meant to go. And Archie's behavior only reinforced that feeling. Dogs don't get spooked without cause. They pick up on things, whether that's a physical threat or something altogether less explainable. Tom eventually made his way back out of the forest and stopped in an open field nearby to eat the meal he'd originally planned to enjoy at his campsite. Out in the open, Archie was completely back to normal, relaxed, content, tail wagging, the birds had returned, the world felt ordinary again. Just as Tom was wrapping up his food and getting ready to head home, he decided to film one last piece to camera. That's the moment.
Bad vibes, man. Bad vibes. I don't feel the slightest bit of regret. I feel that I've made the right choice. What the fuck was that? You won't have heard that because I've got my mic on me. Can you hear that? I'm not messing around. I really hope the mic picked that up.
Everything changed. What makes this so hard to dismiss is the pattern. From the second Tom stepped into those woods, something felt off. The silence, the creeping sense of being somewhere forbidden, the way Archie reacted. And then, right at the point of departure, those screams cut through the air. It's as if whatever inhabited that place was either driving him away or furious that he dared to set foot there at all.
Just for content, as I'm like looking out and thinking, right, I'm wrapping up this video, this is gonna be the last shot of the video, I'm gonna record myself looking out over the forest, you know, right as that happens, I hear a noise from the forest area that I was just at, that was like, "Arr!" And I'm not even joking, that sounds like I'm taking the mick, but I'm not. And then all of the birds, all of the crows, which I hadn't heard, there were crows about, but they were like in the fields. I can hear loads of crow activity in the forest. And then I hear a longer, kind of slightly more pained, "Arr!" It wasn't a human sound, it's not like it.
Sometimes the instinct to leave is the most important one you can follow. Tom had done his homework on this location, planned the trip carefully, and arrived fully equipped for a night under the trees. But when every signal told him something was wrong, he listened and he walked away. Was it something paranormal? a hidden animal, or just his mind amplifying the atmosphere of an isolated place? There's probably no definitive answer. What we do know is this: trusting that gut feeling was absolutely the right move. Our next clip starts off on a warm note. A group of friends out in the woods, sharing laughs around the fire, completely at ease. The flames pop and hiss, conversations flow freely, and the whole vibe is relaxed. Then, without warning, that comfort is torn away. Something cuts through the night, a sound, distant but somehow too close, and it stops everyone dead in their tracks. The laughter drains out of the air, replaced by dead quiet and nervous glances toward the trees. What had seemed like just a great evening under the stars transforms into a moment of unease none of them could shake.
Hear that? Get Trevor. Austin, get the light. Hey! That was not an elk.
Initially, the group tried to rationalize it, telling themselves it was probably just some wildlife passing nearby. But the more they sat with it, the less convincing that felt. The noise intensified, warped into something distorted and almost hostile. Nothing any of them had heard before. That's the moment it hit them all at once. This wasn't right. Not even close to right.
Get my keys. Ah, get ready. Everybody.
And then the footage just stops. No resolution, no answers, only an eerie stillness that raises questions nobody wants to sit with for too long. What exactly was lurking beyond the reach of that firelight? Could it have been a predator stalking through the brush? Or is there something far stranger at play here? Something that doesn't fit neatly into any rational category. There's no way to be certain. All that remains is this footage and the deeply unsettling possibility that things didn't simply wrap up once the camera went dark. That night in the woods is a stark reminder of just how fast a perfect evening can.
Do you see that? Over there, look, over there. Do you see that?
What the hell?
In 1997, a camera was stumbled upon deep within the forest of Emerson County, and what it contained would go on to be regarded as some of the most unsettling footage ever recovered. See for yourself what these woods were hiding. A man and a woman had been recording as they made their way through the trees, everything appearing completely routine at first, until they spotted something that stopped them cold. Standing in the distance was a shadowy humanoid shape, almost translucent, flickering as though it was barely holding itself together in our world. You can hear the terror creeping into their voices the moment they register what they're looking at. This was no ordinary passerby. Whatever it was, carried a deeply unnerving energy that was impossible to dismiss. Once the footage was reviewed, the camera ended up in the hands of law enforcement. And here's the part that really gets under your skin. The couple who shot the video was never seen or heard from again. Ever since, analysts and enthusiasts have gone over the recording time and time again. Some think the figure might be a human being equipped with some kind of experimental cloaking technology, while others are firmly convinced this was something beyond the physical world, a spirit or entity that calls those woods home. It honestly brings to mind those earlier Predator-style clips, but I want to know what you think.
Do you see that? Over there, look, over there. Do you see that?
What the hell?
August 2023, Jessa from Jessa J Vlogs was cruising through the desert in her van, expecting nothing more than a quiet, low-key rest day. But a road closure had other plans, forcing her and her friend Hannah onto an unfamiliar trail for a grueling, unexpected hike.
And ignoring me because I made her get up earlier than what she wanted to do this morning.
I can hear you.
I'm done talking to you. We're done. Hey, oh my God, she's talking and interrupting my video.
You tell everyone that I'm ignoring you, but you're the one that says don't talk to me. So I'm like, okay, I'll listen to music.
I don't want her to talk to me because she's been ignoring me for the last 5 minutes. And I don't appreciate that.
Things fell apart fast. Wrong paths, rattlesnakes coiled beneath rocks, a jagged thorn that drove straight into Jessa's foot, close enough to a snakebite situation to send real fear running through both of them. They crossed bridges they had no business crossing, and lost hours battling terrain that seemed determined to push back.
See why?
You see it? There it is. Oh, wow.
That is ginormous. That's a rattlesnake. Yeah.
Oh my God, okay. Oh God, okay.
Hannah.
I don't like that. Scare away me from a hike. rattlesnakes everywhere.
When they finally made it to the water, the dread lifted, but only for a moment. The trek back was even harder. Steep inclines, slick rocks, and then strangers showed up out of nowhere, clearly having taken a much simpler route, a quiet reminder that the two of them had been completely lost the whole time.
On the actually steep thing that we went down. Hey bud, I don't want to get in your way. You gonna leave? You're just gonna let us walk by? Cool, thanks bro. Thanks for sharing your home. That was one of the bigger ones I've seen. He was a cutie. Did someone mark this rock for me? It says, Live J.
Once they got back to camp, the exhaustion hit hard, the van was getting tidied up, dinner was on. That's when Jessa revealed the real issue that had been weighing on her earlier in the day. A man had been hanging around their campsite, staring, not moving on, making sure he left an impression.
I'm pumped. But unfortunately, I don't think we can park here tonight because there was this creepy guy and he was like, oh, you guys are so pretty, and you know, all that kind of stuff, and like wouldn't leave us alone. And now we don't really feel safe camping here because he knows we're here.
Sorry, can you bring the water? This broccoli's burning.
Oh, okay. Did he ask you if we were staying?
And now he knew exactly where they were sleeping. They loaded everything up and rolled out across punishing roads, deciding that whatever dangers the trail had thrown at them were nothing compared to what might be waiting at camp.
So bad.
On January 21st, 2024, Chris Baird, a well-known YouTube creator famous for his unsettling visits to haunted locations, set off on yet another spine-chilling journey. His destination this time was one of the most notoriously haunted stretches of wilderness in the United States, the Pocomoke Forest. Going it alone without hesitation, Chris planned to make camp near a derelict farmhouse situated on land belonging to fellow prominent YouTuber CJ Faison. As darkness crept in, Chris arrived at the dense, ominous tree line, the perfect setting for his latest brush with the unknown. He pitched his tent and turned his attention to investigating the crumbling farmhouse, attempting to make contact with whatever spirits might still be lingering there. The atmosphere grew heavy and tense.
Nice. Do you enjoy me being here with you? I don't know if you guys remember, but that window right there is the one that I captured. It looked like a, so I don't know, just very uncomfortable, you know? Ooh! Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the actual fuck up. Get the fuck out of here. We just moved that door. What the actual fuck just happened? Yo, there's nothing going on here. There's no tomfoolery. I don't understand how that just happened. My mind playing tricks on me? What the fuck was that?
And then everything changed. A door violently slammed shut, even though Chris had deliberately left it open. With absolutely no wind to explain it, the sudden bang sent a wave of dread straight through him.
I cannot explain that. What the fuck? Who was upstairs? Hello? I pray that was outside. I literally pray that was outside. Bro, what the hell is going on in the house?
Shaken but determined, he steadied his nerves and pushed forward. He decided to dig deeper, making his way upstairs toward where he believed the sound had come from. Nothing could have prepared him for what followed.
Bother me tonight. Keep me company. Yeah, I don't know if I can do this all night, guys. This is wild. What the f? What the f? Yo, f this. This place. Please don't stop. Yeah, I'm not stopping. I'm out of here. F this. This place, dude. This place.
A shriek tore through the silence, sending Chris sprinting out of the building in a full panic. He retreated to the safety of his tent, but the night had plenty more in store.
Sorry, guys. Get it back on for a sec. Your boy is not doing this again.
Tucked inside his tent, Chris attempted to get some rest, but a series of bizarre sounds kept pulling him back from sleep. Eventually, fatigue won out.
Hello? What the fuck was that? Hello? What the fuck? My light died. I just heard the weirdest noise. I don't know. Something woke me up.
Though not for long, he was snapped wide awake by something making noise just inches from where he lay. The overwhelming sensation of being watched closed in around him. Picture yourself in that moment, alone in pitch darkness, nothing but a thin sheet of nylon between you and whatever is out there. What would you do? Rattled and disoriented, Chris stepped outside to find the source of the disturbance. What he didn't realize was that stepping out might turn out to be the worst call he could have made.
Someone's car, but there's no one here. Like, I don't see any camera notifications. I don't know, guys. I don't actually know. It is almost 6 o'clock. I slept a decent amount tonight, so I think I'm just gonna go home. Just gonna go home, maybe sleep for a couple more hours, and just, I don't know, guys. Like, I mean, I stayed a decent amount. I didn't stay the whole night, but call it a foul, call it whatever you want. I'm gonna pack my shit. I'm gonna go. So. What was that? All right. I'm getting in the car. I'm done.
The dread reaches its breaking point as Chris finally decides he's done. He makes a full sprint to his truck and tears out of those haunted woods as quickly as his vehicle will carry him. He got out in one piece, but what exactly drove him to that point of sheer terror may never truly be known. While hiking through the UK countryside, one trekker had just crested a hill when something on the other side stopped them dead in their tracks, so they pulled out their phone and started recording. A cluster of adults wearing white robes had formed a circle with two normally dressed children standing at the center. Not knowing whether this was some kind of sinister ritual or a cult gathering, the hiker uploaded the footage looking for someone to explain what they were seeing. It didn't take long for commenters to weigh in, with many identifying the group as Druids, followers of a modern spiritual practice rooted in ancient Celtic traditions, and insisting there was nothing to worry about. Not everybody was so easily reassured though. Whether dangerous or not, the whole scene was undeniably unsettling to witness. On May 23rd, 2025, a creator named Sydney, known for her peaceful scenic road trip content across the United States, shared what began as a casual historical side trip through the ghost town of Bodie. But things took an unexpected direction when she chose to spend the night at one of Nevada's most infamously haunted properties, the Silver Queen Hotel in Virginia City. Virginia City already holds a powerful reputation among those who follow the paranormal. Back in the 1800s, it was a thriving mining hub and the heart of the Comstock Lode, a staggeringly rich silver deposit that transformed the region into one of the wealthiest communities in the entire country. But that prosperity came hand in hand with brutality, lawlessness, and loss of life. These days, the town's weathered buildings and preserved artifacts stand as testaments to that dark history, and many believe the souls of those who lived and perished there have never truly moved on. Sydney rolled into town fresh off a visit to Bodie, another storied ghost town where she had filmed abandoned homes still containing furniture, preserved food jars, and personal items left behind long ago.
Wow, I can't believe I'm actually here. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. I made it to Bodie. Wow. Apparently everything here has just been left as it is, or as it was. Oh my gosh, there's a shoe right there. So everything is in the state as it was left, so it's just decaying. This is so cool.
At first, Bodie was just a small mining camp overshadowed by nearby boomtowns like Virginia City and Aurora. But everything changed in 1876 when a rich vein of gold was struck by the Standard Company.
Oh my gosh. There's still food in jars on the shelf in there.
This discovery transformed Bodie into a bustling gold mining town almost overnight.
So I'm guessing this is one of the main streets in Bodie, because the church is right here.
The town had everything: saloons, hotels, a red light district, a Chinatown, a Wells Fargo bank, a jail, and even a baseball field. But with gold came greed and danger. Bodie quickly earned a reputation for violence and lawlessness. The phrase, "bad man from Bodie," became infamous throughout the West. Shootouts, robberies, and saloon brawls were common, and some even claimed the town had a murder a day during its peak.
Shoo. Enjoy the view and enjoy your drink.
Mining was brutal and dangerous. Workers spent long hours underground in suffocating, dusty conditions using dynamite and hand tools to extract ore. But the mines were lucrative. Over the years, Bodie's mines produced roughly $34 million in gold and silver, which would be worth over $1 billion today. At its height, there were over 30 working mines and 9 stamp mills in the area to crush the ore.
You know what's crazy? In 50 years, if I come here and look back on this video, it'll be completely different. A lot more deteriorated. So yeah, I'm literally living in history right now.
While Bodie is remembered for its rough and tumble miners and lawless saloons, it was also home to hundreds of families. Women and children made up a smaller but significant portion of the population, often trying to create stability.
From there, she headed straight to the Silver Queen Hotel, a worn but still operating establishment that has appeared on numerous paranormal television programs and has a long-standing reputation for unexplained footsteps, disembodied voices, and even full-body apparitions. Despite her initial reluctance, Sydney made the call to spend the night alone in room 10, situated right beside the notorious room 11, where legend holds that a woman named Rosie, said to have been a prostitute, ended her own life. That room is widely considered to be among the most haunted spaces in the entire building. Only 30 minutes after she checked in...
Wait. I just heard footsteps. I just heard footsteps. It sounded like this. What the... I just had my first ghost encounter. I would have grabbed my GoPro, but I was... Wait. Oh my god. Let me reenact the scene. I was reading this paper. I got to, she had a rousing, roaring silver and gold line pass. And I just heard footsteps right outside my door go. But it was like cushioned on the carpet. And it wasn't very hard. So I opened the door and nobody was out there. Oh my god. This is gonna be a long night. I've been here 30 minutes and I already had a ghost encounter. Wow. You know when there's footsteps above you, you can hear it. When there's footsteps outside, they're kind of hard. This one, it was like soft. Right outside my door. And by the time I came, grabbed my GoPro and opened the door, I would have seen somebody. There's nobody there.
Things started happening. While she was sitting in her room reading, she picked up the sound of soft but unmistakable footsteps just beyond her door. The noise had a muffled, carpeted quality to it, but there was no question it was real. She swung the door open, expecting to find someone in the corridor, but the hallway was completely deserted. Nobody had walked past, nobody was anywhere nearby, and as she would later point out, the hotel's poor soundproofing meant that even the faintest movement from other guests would have carried clearly through the walls. As the night wore on, the disturbances only grew. Sydney described being kept awake by a near-relentless series of strange occurrences. There were footsteps from the floor above, pacing continuously without any break. Knocking sounds echoed through the room with no traceable origin. At one point, she even caught what seemed to be the rumbling noise of a dryer running. Exhaustion and frayed nerves made it difficult for her to capture the sounds on her phone, but she remained firm in her belief that none of it was a product of her imagination. What struck her most deeply, though, was the sudden and complete quiet that arrived with daybreak. The moment birds began singing outside, signaling the early morning hours, every disturbance stopped cold. It was an abrupt silence, as though whatever presence had been active inside those walls had chosen to withdraw the instant the sun came up. The whole experience left her both rattled and in awe. Having gone in as a skeptic, Sydney came out openly acknowledging that she had experienced something she couldn't explain away. Whether it was residual energy tied to the town's violent history, or something more conscious roaming the aged corridors of the Silver Queen Hotel, she couldn't say with any certainty. But one thing she was absolutely sure of: she had no intention of ever spending another night there. What do you make of what she went through? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Mandog Wild is a channel run by a guy who travels to various locations and goes on camping trips with his dog Yeti. They've crossed paths with some unusual things along the way, though nothing that's really pushed the limits of strange. In this particular upload, the creator takes Yeti out for a hike through the mountains. At some point on the trail, Yeti catches a scent and completely stops responding to his owner's commands. Figuring that Yeti might actually be onto something and trying to guide him somewhere, the creator makes the call to just follow along. What exactly are they heading toward? Stick around and you'll find out.
Start filming this because it's always kind of interesting. Yeti.
Yeti is either one of two things.
She's a very simple dog. She's either completely unstable and constant zoomies, or she's very serious. And right now she's slowed down and she'll stop and she'll want me to follow her to take me somewhere or show me something. And at this point, now she's not going to stray too far from me because now she wants to show me something. We've just been out here exploring, as we usually do around this time, you know, a little earlier than this. It's getting a bit dark now. And we've been on one of these abandoned roads that go to nowhere. They've just been left. Walking these dirt roads, and Yeti comes across this little trail. She's slowed down and she wants to show me. See, she's right there. She's not running. She's not got the zoomies as she normally does. She's staying close by. She's scenting something, but she's been on this trail. At this point, no, normally I'd like to be headed home, but yeah, if she wants to show me something, she wants to show me something.
After trailing behind Yeti for some time, darkness had completely settled in, but he had enough faith in his dog to keep going.
I don't think anyone's been here for a little while because I've walked through so many cobwebs.
She is just in front. You just can't see her too well at the moment. Where are we going, Yeti? Well, at least we're out that plantation now. What is that? What's this, Yester? What is that? So this is where she leads us. That's super strange, huh? Like burnt into the rock. So obviously these mountains are strange places. Someone's come out here and made this. They've made this and I don't know what to make of this. What's your guys' thoughts on this? I have no idea. Maybe it's some kind of worshipping thing. Maybe it's just a sign. Maybe hunters. Kind of mark.
Shortly after that, voices started drifting through the air and lights began weaving through the trees, moving in his direction.
It's one of the strangest things I've ever seen out here.
Worth pointing out here, this is deep wilderness, and it's the middle of the night, so encountering other people out there was already unsettling on its own. But when you factor in what he actually discovered at the scene, the whole thing takes on a genuinely disturbing quality. Whether it was some kind of ritual or perhaps a memorial someone set up for a beloved pet, there's no easy answer. What makes it all the more eerie is that out of every direction Yeti could have pulled him, he ended up right here, at this strange and haunting scene under cover of darkness. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Following a heavy rainstorm that stretched through the night and into the following morning, one man stumbled across something he couldn't explain.
Me and my dad found these boot prints along our asphalt driveway. And it was a little strange. We were a little freaked out because we live in the woods, middle of nowhere. Yeah. And these footprints, we did some tests, and my dad is 5'11", size 12 shoe. And the prints are bigger than his shoe size. And the strides were much too large for his height. So, for my assumption, these are bipedal tracks coming from something that is at least 6'3", with a large stride, maybe a 13, 14 size shoe. And yeah, here are the prints. I don't know if you can see them very well. It's not great visibility. I'm trying to find one with good visibility that's kind of there. Walks along, goes away, and it disappears right over here. I don't know why. Let me find a better print. That's a pretty vivid one right there. See the outline right there, the point.
Boot prints pressed into his driveway, completely untouched by all that rainfall. But here's where things take a genuinely unsettling turn. The prints didn't match anything contemporary. They showed a pronounced curve at the front and a gap where the heel would lift, characteristics that point directly to military footwear from hundreds of years ago. And considering there's a cluster of war-era graves situated just a short distance away, the whole thing becomes even harder to shake. So what exactly was walking around out there, and what kind of boots leave behind marks like that after a night of heavy rain?